Jai Shishi Guru Gauranga Gandharvika Giridhari Shishi Radha Vinod Bihari Ju ki Jai Shri Govinda Gopinath Madan Mohan Ju ki Jai Nitya Lila Pravishtam Vishnupara Shuttara Shutta Shishimar Bhakti Vedanta Narayan Gosai Maharaj Shila Gurudev ki Jai Nitya Lila Pravishtam Vishnupara Shuttara Shutta Shishimar Bhakti Vedanta Swami Maharaj Shila Prabhu Shila Bhakti Vedanta Vaman Gosai Maharaj ki Jai Nityalila Pravishtam Vishnupara Ashtutarashita Shishimar Bhakti Vedanta Swami Maharaj Shila Prabhupada ki Jai Nityalila Pravishtam Vishnupara Ashtutarashita Shishimar Bhakti Pragyan Keshav Gosai Maharaj ki Jai Nityalila Pravishtam Vishnupara Ashtutarashita Shishimar Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Gosai Prabhupada ki Jai Nityalila Pravishtam Vishnupar Mahabhagavat Srila Gaur Kishore Das Babaji Maharaj ki Jai Nityalila Pravishtam Vishnupar Ashtarashata Shishmad Srila Satchidananda Bhaktivinoda Ṭhākura ki Jai Nityalila Pravishtam Vishnupar Vaishnav Sarvabhauma Srila Jagannath Das Babaji Maharaj ki Jai Shri Rupa Anugaudiya Guru Varga ki Jai Nityalila Pravishtam Vishnupar Srila Bhakti Vigyan Bharati Gosai Maharaj ki Jai Nityalila Pravishtam Vishnupar Srila Bhakti Valavatirtha Gosai Maharaj ki Jai Nityalila Pravishtam Vishnupar Srila Bhakti Dait Madhav Gosai Maharaj ki Jai Nityalila Pravishtam Vishnupar Shishimar Bhakti Pramod Puri Gosai Maharaj ki Jai Nityalila Pravishtam Vishnupar Shishimar Bhakti Rakṣaka Śrīdhara Gosvāmī Mahārāja ki Jai Swaparshad Śrīla Prabhupada ki Jai Jai Shri Rupa Anugaudiya Guru Varga ki Jai Śrīla Baladev Vijibhushan Prabhu ki Jai Śrīla Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur ki Jai Shri Narottam Srinivas Shamananda Prabhu Trai ki Jai Śrīla Krishna Das Kaviraj Goswami Par ki Jai Śrīla Vrindavan Das Thakur ki Jai Shri Rupa Sanatan Bhatta Raghunath Shri Jeev Gopal Bhatta Das Raghunath Shar Goswami Prabhu ki Jai Shri Sarup Damodar Rai Ramanandari Shri Gaur Parshad Vrinda ki Jai Namachaya Shila Haridas Thakur ki Jai Prem se kaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasari Gaur Bhakta Vrinda ki Jai Shri Kshetra Mandala Gora Mandala Vraja Mandala Mathura Vrindavan Dham ki Jai Sarva Abhishta Pradatta Giriraj Maharaj ki Jai Shri Radha Kunda Shama Kunda ki Jai Shri Yamuna Devi Ganga Devi ki Jai Shri Tulsi Maharani Vrinda Devi ki Jai Shri Bhakti Devi ki Jai Shri Purnamasi Yogamaya ki Jai Shri Gopeshwar Mahadev ki Jai Shri Harinam Sankirtana ki Jai all the magazines established by started by Śrīla Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami Prabhupada ki Jai, and all the magazines of all of his followers ki Jai. Jai, Raise of the Harmonist ki Jai, the original Harmonist ki Jai. Shri Harinam Sankirtan ki Jai, Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda ki Jai, Samagata Gaur Bhakta Vrinda ki Jai, Shri Nitai Gaur Premanande Hari Hari Bo. Hare Krishna, everybody. Dandavat Pranam. Hari Bol, Champak Mataji, Gopal Ghanasham Prabhu, Rukmini Didi, Gerald, and Vidyalala Sadidi, Ganga Mataji, Hari Priya Didi, and I see there are a few others. I'll only see your name though if you write a comment. Otherwise, I don't know who you are. Let me just open up the comments on Zoom so I can see. So today we are reading an article. We're continuing our program of 4 times a month. We're reading articles from Raise of the Harmonist. And the program is every Trayodashi, we read an article by Śrīla Bhaktivinoda Ṭhākura. Then every Shukla Trayodashi. That's the 13th day of the waning moon. The 13th day of the waning moon, yeah. And then on every Panchami, we read an article and it's the reason why we're doing on Shukla Trayodashi, the 13th day of the waning moon, because that's the day that Śrīla Bhaktivinoda Ṭhākura appeared on. And so then every Krishna Akadashi, that's the 5th day of the waning moon. We read an article by Śrīla Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur Prabhupada. That's the day that he appeared on, Krishna Panchami. And then that's the waxing moon, 5th day of the waxing moon. Then on Krishna Akadashi, we read an article by Śrīla Bhakti Pragyan Keshav Goswami Maharaj, my Param Gurudev. And then on Amavasya, we're reading an article by one of his godbrothers, one of the, like, generally it will be Śrīla Bhakti Rakṣaka Goswami Maharaj, Śrīla Bhakti Madhav Goswami Maharaj, and Śrīla Bhakti Pramod Puri Goswami Maharaj, one of them. Maybe sometimes another associate. And we're doing this for until we finish reading all the Rays of the Harmonist articles, and then we will, every month, we'll read an article by Śrīla Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, and then from Śrīla Vaman Goswami Maharaj, Śrīla Trivikram Goswami Maharaj, and my Gurudev. So today's article is called A Glimpse of Bhaktivinoda-dhārā, and it comes from we took excerpts from 2 books. One is a book, Subjective Evolution of Consciousness, and the other is Sermons from the Guardian of Devotion. And we published it in this special issue of Rays of the Harmonist that we published in honor of the disappearance day of Śrīla Satchidananda Bhaktivinoda Ṭhākura. It was for his centennial disappearance day in 2014. So this is the article right here. This one right here. A Glimpse of Bhaktivinoda-dhārā, the Lion of Thought of Śrīla Bhaktivinoda Ṭhākura. So, Hari Bol, Dandavat pranams Sajan Maharaj and Indira Mataji, Hare Krishna. And Madhusudan Prabhu, Ondri Hari Prabhu, Bhavatarani Mataji, Krishna Maya Didi, Kishore Krishna Prabhu. So many devotees, Hare Krishna. So, like the other 2 times we've had this program, I unfortunately haven't had time to really prepare much because it's a bit of a crazy time. We're sending books to the printers, and it's been a full-on, like, all day, all night working. Well, not all night, but yeah, a lot of working on some urgent publications. And this morning, I thought right after Mangalarti, I thought I was going to, like, really study this and get it. But then Hare Krishna Prabhu arrived. And so Hare Krishna Prabhu, from Delhi Mat, the singer, very senior devotee. And so then we had to welcome him and all that. And so then I just didn't get the chance. But anyhow, the topic of this article is a very important one. It's a verse, Apichetsu duracharo bhajate mam ananya bhak. It's probably one of the most, I don't know, one of the most, like, people have so many different opinions of this verse, and it's misused a lot. People will use it to, anyways. So we're fortunate. We're going to hear not only Śrīla Bhakti Rakṣaka Goswami Maharaj's conclusion on this verse, but Śrīla Bhaktivinoda Ṭhākura himself. We'll read about how even the Brahma, Narad, and Yamaraj, they weren't able to understand this verse fully. And so what to speak of us. And then we'll hear about this. So, all right. Well, first, I'm just going to read through the entire article, and throughout the article, if there are any points that you would like to discuss afterwards, maybe take a note and then you can mention them at the end of the reading, and then we can discuss a little bit. All right. Just sharing my screen, and then we'll begin. Maybe it would be nice to look at how Śrīla Bhakti Rakṣaka Goswami Maharaj, before we read the article, we're going to look in his Bhagavad Gita and see how he explains this verse. And then we'll start the article. I think that will be helpful when we read it. So this is Bhagavad Gita, chapter 9, verse 30. Apichetsu duracharo bhajate mam ananya bhak sadureva samantavya samyak vyavasito hisa. if even a very simple person serves me exclusively with devotion, he should be regarded as saintly, for his resolve is perfect. And then the next verse. Kshipram bhavati dharmatma shashvach chantim nigacchati kaunteya pratijanihi name bhakta pranashyati. Okay, so there are two ways that this verse can be translated. One second, I'm just going to close the door because all right. So let's see the two different ways that this verse can be explained. So one meaning is sa, he. And this word sa isn't in the verse, but it is implied. This is something you'll see often in Bengali also. Lots of times the person is not mentioned, but it's implied. From the verbs, it's already understood. So sa, he, could either mean this person who is Ananya Bhak, who serves me with exclusive devotion, Bhajate Mama Ananya Bhak. It could either refer to that, or it could refer to somebody who understands this point. Okay, so we'll see. Okay, so did I already read this? Shiparam bhavati dharmatma. Yeah, shashvam. Yeah, okay. So that person who serves me with exclusive devotion, he swiftly becomes a person of virtuous practices and attains constant peace. O son of Kunti, declare it to the world that my devotee is never vanquished. Or this verse can mean not referring to this verse can not refer to this Bhajate Mama Ananya Bhak, but actually it refers to somebody who declares, Pratijanihi Name Bhakta Pranashati, somebody who understands this verse, who declares the devotee, never, yeah. O son of Kunti, this is the second meaning. O son of Kunti, declare it to the world that my devotee is never vanquished. One who declares this swiftly becomes virtuous and attains eternal joy. Okay, let's read the commentary. Śrīla Bhaktivinoda Ṭhākura, just commentary. The second interpretation of this verse was revealed to Śrīla Bhaktivinoda Ṭhākura in a dream. In the Śrīmad Bhagavatam 11:11:32, Lord Shri Krishna says, Agyayaivam gunan doshan mayadhishtan apisvakan dharman santyajaya sarvan mam bhajit sacha sattama. The best of the saintly persons are those who have surpassed the forms of duties that I myself have recommended in the scriptures for the people in general. Although it is my directive, they cross it and render loving service to me. You can see the highest example of this is are the gopis, right? You see that verse. Anyways, okay. In society, one must obey the law, but there is also the situation of crossing the law to show fidelity to the king. If one risks his life and reputation, and crossing the general law enters the royal chamber to combat an assassin, then he will be considered the most loyal servitor. Similarly, the Lord is saying, I have already given some direction for the people in general. Do this, don't do that, don't cross these laws, etc. But if for my interest, anyone takes the risk of committing sin, then he should be considered the best of my devotees. He should be considered the best of my devotees. So, Arjuna, go and declare it. Promise to the public that the Ananya Bhak, in verse 30, the exclusively devoted persons will never come to ruin. Then you will get the benefit. You will become dharmatma. You will become religious and attain eternal divine happiness. the Ananya Bhak, the exclusive devotees, have already crossed the threshold of Dharma, the standard of dutifulness, and have taken the risk to throw themselves fully into my service. Sarva dharmam parityaja mamekam sharanam praja. That's Bhagavad Gita 1866. There is no question of them becoming virtuous or religious as long as they long before surpassed Dharma and took the risk and entered into Prem Dharma, my loving service, transcending both piety and sinfulness. Okay, so now that we understand how Śrīla Bhaktivinoda Gosvāmī Mahārāja explains this verse, this will be helpful for us when we read this verse. We already. Oh, and if you haven't done so already, you can go to razortheharmonist.com, and you'll see a place to enter in your email there. And 24 hours before we start this program, I send out an EPUB that I make of this that you can use. You can read on your Kindle. Yeah, you can read or you could read it on your phone, or see, I'm using the Books app for Mac, but there are e-readers for all devices, and yeah, then you can change the text size and all that. Yeah, and you'll also get the full thing in your email. Okay, a glimpse of Bhaktivinoda-dhārā, the line of thought of Śrīla Bhaktivinoda Ṭhākura by Śrīmad Bhakti Rakṣaka Śrīdhara Gosvāmī Mahārāja, published from Chaitanya Saraswat Mutt. Hey, how come it doesn't show the two books? Anyhow, every time you see at the end of a paragraph, there'll be one asterisk. That means that it's coming from the book Subjective Evolution of Consciousness. And every time at the end of a paragraph you see two asterisks, it means it's coming from Sermons of the Guardian of Devotion. We took from both of those books, and because he told it in both times. And yeah. One second, just opening up the chat so I can see the comments. Haribol, Raseshwari Mataji, and Balai Saha, and Amit Tandikar. Hare Krishna. Oh, well, I'm just seeing Rukmini Didi's comment here. She also translated this. That person quickly becomes adorned. This is from...
Not me, my mother, Devamai Dasi.
Okay, yeah. Devamai Didi's translation. She says, she translated Śrīla Gosvāmī Mahārāja's where it's like, that person swiftly becomes adorned with virtuous qualities and attains eternal tranquility. O son of Kunti, declare it with great resolution. My devotee never perishes. And then
30 was above.
Okay, that was 31. And then what's this 34? Okay. If even a person of extremely abominable practices engages in my devotional service with an unalloyed heart, considering me as the only considering me as the only and supreme goal, and abandoning all other paths of worship in the mode of exploitation and renunciation, that person is venerable as a saint because of having taken a perfect resolution. That's verse 34. Oh, sorry, 30. Okay, sorry. Okay.
Thank you.
Thanks for sharing that. That's okay. Once Śrīla Bhaktivinoda Ṭhākura had a dream in which he was wandering in the sky chanting the holy name. He came upon the court of Yamaraj, where Yamaraj himself was sitting with Brahma, Narad, and others discussing a point from a verse in Bhagavad Gita, chapter 9, verse 30. Apichet suduracharo bhajate mam ananya bhak sadur eva samantavya samyak vyavasito hisa. The generally accepted meaning of this verse is, even if one commits the most abominable action, if he is an Ananya Bhak devotee, that means one who worships me alone in devotional service, free from karma and gyan, then he is to be considered saintly because his endeavors are completely on my behalf and his determination is fixed. Here, Krishna says, whatever he has done, if he is exclusively given himself to, if he is exclusively given to myself, he should not be considered as my, I don't know what's wrong with me. My brain was, I was, let me just, okay. Whatever he has done, if he is exclusively given to myself, he should be considered as my devotee. Samyak vyavasito hisa. And whatever he is doing is 100% right. So that's what it says in verse 30. But then in the next passage, in verse 31, that says, Kshipram bhavati dharmatma. Very soon, he will be a man of righteousness. He will become dharmatma, dutiful. So yeah, it seems like a contradiction. Isn't the person who is dharmatma, isn't an Ananya Bhakt devotee already dharmatma? How can somebody be exclusively worship Krishna? And how could that person not already be a dharmatma? Why does it say very soon he will become a dharmatma? So as Yamaraj, Brahma, and Narad discussed this point, a question came up. Krishna says, Bhajate mam ananya bhak, one who is my exclusive devotee. The question arises, what is exclusive devotion or ananya bhajan? Krishna says, give up all other religious conceptions and surrender to me alone. Sarva dharman parityaja mamekam sharanam vraja. That is exclusive devotion. But if one is practicing exclusive devotion, then he is already dharmatma. He is already righteous. How is it then that in the very next verse, Krishna says, soon he becomes dharmatma? He already is dharmatma. How are we to adjust this? Krishna says, we're going to read the full verse now. Kshipram bhavati dharmatma shashvat chantim nigacchati konteya pratijanihi name bhakta pranashyati. That's verse 31. He soon becomes righteous, dharmatma, and attains lasting peace. O son of Kunti, declare it boldly that my devotee never perishes. This is the general meaning of this verse. Krishna tells Arjuna, he soon becomes dharmatma. My devotee is never ruined. Go and declare this to the public. Krishna says that after the devotee became Ananya Bhak, that is, after he gave up all sorts of duties and surrendered to Krishna, then again he will be dharmatma, a dutiful man. As Brahma, Narad, and Yamaraj discussed this point, they saw Bhaktivinoda Ṭhākura walking in the sky and chanting the holy name. One of them suggested, there is a pure devotee. He should be able to give the real meaning. So then Bhaktivinoda Ṭhākura was invited in their midst and asked, how shall we adjust these points? Krishna has said that this person is an exclusive devotee, that he has renounced all sorts of duties and surrendered to Krishna. And yet, in no time, it will be seen that he is very dutiful. How can we understand this? Isn't he already dutiful? How can we understand that Krishna is saying that he will become dutiful? Bhaktivinoda Ṭhākura explained that he quickly becomes righteous refers not to the exclusive devotee, but to one who considers the exclusive devotee pure in all circumstances. Even if he performs some abominable act, he is really a sadhu, a saint. One who can think of an exclusive devotee in that way will soon become dharmatma. And the way I'm understanding this is that verse from Upadeshamrita, Drishtai Swabhava Janatar Vapushashtra Doshai. Actually, I'd like to sing this verse at the end of the program. But you know how This is Bhaktivinoda Thakura's translation, but like his song that he wrote on this verse. But mud and foam may be observed in the waters of the Jahnavi, of the Ganga, who possesses an aqueous nature. But the nature of liquefied transcendence never leaves those waters. Similarly, the body of the Vaishnava is always transcendental. From any perspective, his nature and body are never mundane. As such, one who criticizes him falls into the terrible pit of adharma. They are not a dharmatma, they're an adharmatma, right? Yes. So somebody who realizes this, that person becomes a dharmatma. That the pure devotees, even if his by nature, right, swabhav, if there's seems to be some defect in his nature, like he becomes very angry or something, or in his body also. But no, he's never mundane. Okay, so Śrīla Bhaktivinoda Ṭhākura perfectly harmonizes the seeming contradiction. He gave the meaning. Api chetsu duracharo bhajate mam ananyabhak. Despite his outer practices, the exclusive devotee, ananyabhak, is to be accepted, mantavya, as 100% saint, sadhu, as a 100% saint. He's fully a sadhu. Therefore, the conclusion is that he who can realize this, he who declares that an exclusive devotee of Krishna, regardless of his outer practices, is 100% saintly, will soon become dharmatma, virtuous and religious. His statement in conclusion is 100% correct, and his conduct will soon become very pure, and he too will have the chance of accepting the path towards eternal truth. The man who boldly declares that an exclusive devotee is a sadhu becomes righteous. In this way, in my commentary on Bhagavad Gita, I have followed Bhaktivinoda Thakura's explanation. I also saw it was redundant to say that an Ananya Bhakt devotee becomes Dharmatma. Krishna says that an exclusive devotee should be thought of as a sadhu, an honest man. One who says that an exclusive devotee, a surrendered soul to Krishna, should be thought of as pure, whatever be his external practices, the man who's making this remark, that man, he becomes righteous. The person who says this, that a devotee is always pure in all circumstances. This is the proper conclusion. What he says is 100% truth. And the next thing Krishna says is that he who can remark in such a way will be purified very soon. Krishna says that by such appreciation of the exclusive devotee, a person will soon come to his eternal duty and attain eternal peace. So I ask you, O son of Kunti, so Krishna says, so I ask you, O son of Kunti, Arjuna, to go and promise in public that my exclusive devotee will never be lost. Konteya pratijanihi name bhakta pranashyati. Then you will get the benefit of the man whose remark improves his life. Otherwise, why should Krishna tell Arjuna, make a public announcement that my devotee is never ruined? Why should Krishna tell Arjuna that? What effect will there be for Arjuna? But one who declares an exclusive devotee of Krishna is saintly no matter what he does, soon becomes righteous. So this verse is Krishna explaining to us how we can become Dharmatma. We can become Dharmatma by declaring loudly that the exclusive devotee is always, is always perfect and pure in all circumstances. If Arjuna declares this, he will become Dharmatma. He will get the benefit. So Krishna tells him, you make this remark, take a bold step, take a risk and make this remark. Then you will also get that benefit I have described. Of course, Arjuna is a Parshad, an eternal associate of Krishna, but using him as an example, Krishna tells him, you do it. Arjuna has taken the position of God, I always have a hard time with this, an inquirer independent of his Parshad character. Whether or not we obey provincial laws, we must obey his absolute law. One second. Okay. So Arjuna, you take advantage of this and boldly declare to the public that my devotee who gives himself wholly unto me, can never come to ruination. Even if he may be seen to be outwardly doing something wrong, he will be saved. His successful life is assured. By this declaration, you will get the benefit of becoming righteous. You'll become Dharmatma and have the chance of attaining eternal spiritual peace. What is it? Shantim, what is it? Shantim negacchati. Shashvat shantim negacchati. Whoever can understand this and has the courage to declare that my exclusive devotee is never subject to ruination, he in turn gets his chance to come to this path of exclusive devotion, and he will attain eternal peace. He will attain everything because he has the proper appreciation for exclusive devotion. Everything is for the Lord and not for any other part. In the absolute, everything is for itself. The absolute is for itself. Whether we obey or disobey the laws of provincial or separate interest, we must without fail obey the rule that everything is for him. It doesn't matter if we disobey the laws of provincial interests. The thing that matters is that we must without fail obey the rule that everything is for him. This is the main rule, and all other rules are subsidiary. We may or may not carry on our duties, but we must carry on our duty towards the center. This is the all-important factor in every case. Thus, one who can appreciate this and boldly assert it to the public must have substantial appreciation for this conception, and he is sure to survive and improve his future condition very soon. Krishna says, he will attain the path of eternal peace, and that is the service of myself, Krishna. This is the underlying meaning. The highest quality in every part of the whole is that everyone must be dedicated towards the center, even crossing his dutifulness in respect to any other environmental position. And one who can feel, appreciate, and assert this, he will also soon achieve such a position. His inner heart can appreciate, and that is something of a realization on that path. It will very soon take effect, and the public will see, oh, he is also entering this path of Ananya Bhajan, the exclusive adherence to the call of the absolute center, and that is all in all. In the standard or most general interpretation, the beginner in devotional service may have so many bad tendencies in his behavior. But when he matures, these must disappear. So that's the general understanding of this verse. Nonetheless, undesirable behavior may sometimes be seen to persist, at least externally. By chewing his poison, poison will come to me. By chewing his poison, poison will come to me. What does that mean? The more we are particular about the conduct of others, the more we lose our own time and energy. The more we are particular about the conduct of others, the more we lose our own time and energy. Instead of benefiting us, such a practice is reactionary. If I try to find fault with anyone, especially a devotee, the fault will come back to me. By chewing the poison in his body, that poison will come to me. Avoid such association. Try to find the good in others. That will help you. There was a system in our mat at the time of our Guru Maharaj. He ordered one devotee to praise another, especially one that the devotee disliked. Thus, the devotee would be forced to find the goodness in the other devotee who he didn't particularly like, and thereby be benefited. That happened recently with me. There was one person who I have big issues with, and I was saying all sorts of stuff about the person, and then my friend Kishore said, say something good about this person just to like nullify. Yeah. Eliminating, and it was kind of difficult for me. Eliminating what was bad in his conception of eliminating what was bad in his conception of the other person, he was to search for what good he could find and thereby be benefited. Right? We're trying to become Vaishnavas, and a Vaishnava is adosha darashi. He doesn't see the faults in others. He doesn't see the bad in others. He only looks for that. Even if somebody is full of faults, he'll just see the one good quality in that person. That's what's significant to him. All his faults are, they will wash away within time very soon. That's not a big deal. He doesn't even take much notice. One who is surrendered to Krishna is accepted as his own. When I was publishing my commentary on Bhagavad Gita, a godbrother once told me, if you give such an explanation, then in the name of Ananya Bhakti, exclusive devotion, less advanced devotees will take advantage of this. What you are revealing here is a very hidden meaning. It is not meant for the public. It is a confidential point. Api chet su duracharo bhajate mam ananya bhak sadur eva. He may be the worst debauchee in his outer life, but if he is ananya bhak, a surrendered soul, he should be considered a really honest man. If you explain things like this, everyone will say, oh, I am an Ananya Bhak devotee, and they will go on with their debauchery. So please don't express this so explicitly. But I published my commentary over this objection because the principle underlying this verse is an important one. One who is surrendered to Krishna is accepted as his own. And just as Krishna has rights over everything and is never a trespasser, so his own man should never be considered a trespasser at any time. This is confirmed elsewhere in the Śrīmad Bhagavatam. Atma bhuyaya chakalpate. My devotee belongs to me. So one who works by inspiration from Krishna should never be considered a trespasser. He can enjoy anything on Krishna's behalf if he is really a surrendered soul. He should be considered as Krishna's. He has free access to everything that belongs to Krishna. But some objected, saying, don't be so broad in your interpretation. If you do so, then the people at large will do abominable things in the name of pure devotion. They will say, oh, I am a Vaishnav. I am a Iṣṭa-goṣṭhī. I am one of Krishna's own men. What is his property is mine. I can enjoy everything. Kishore Krishna this shared a quote. The supreme absolute truth is for himself and by himself. All jivas are meant for him. That's Bhakti Śrīdhara Gosvāmī Mahārāja. Hare Krishna, Rasapriya Didi, Kagraj Ji, and Hari Priya Didi. Okay. A genuine devotee thinks, I can't be an Ananya Bhakta. Then, of course, the question comes, how do we recognize Ananya Bhakti, exclusive devotion? So this is the response. If somebody's like to his God, but to whoever was saying, don't be so broad in your interpretation. If you do so, then the people at large will do abominable things in the name of pure devotion. They'll say, oh, I'm a Vaishnava, I'm a Iṣṭa-goṣṭhī, I'm one of Krishna's own men. So what is his property is mine. I can enjoy everything. So then, of course, the question comes, how do we recognize Ananya Bhakti, exclusive devotion? The real trouble is here. Merely professing that I am a pure devotee won't do. Rather, a real devotee will think, I am not a real devotee. That will be his understanding, his inner feeling. Exclusive devotion is not a small thing. To be an Ananya Bhakta, that's not a small thing. A genuine devotee thinks, I can't be an Ananya Bhakta. I have not attained that stage. It is very difficult. Rather, I am going away from that. That will be the general tenor of his attitude. What to speak of lesser devotees, Srimati Radharani herself says, people associate me with Krishna. They say that I have an illicit connection with Krishna. But what they say is all false. My grief is that I could not give my entire heart to Krishna. I cannot say that I am completely his. My internal trouble is that I could not become wholly his, and they falsely think that I am. I have no objection to becoming fully his, even to having an illicit connection with him. But that I cannot become so, this is my great fault. That will be the general attitude of a real Ananya Bhakta. Just the opposite tendency will come. The real measure of devotion must be there. Whether eternally pure or impure, the whole principle is that our exclusive devotion for Krishna is the only necessity. In the ordinary sense, the gopis are also sinners. They cross the laws of society and the Shastras. So they are sinners. But they hold the highest position of purity by their exclusive devotedness to Krishna and no other. They cannot help but to serve Krishna cent per cent, even at the risk of crossing the entire code of morality. They are considered to be the highest devotional ideal. But that sort of devotion is not so cheap that everyone will go on with their activities in this world, taking advantage of such ideals. That won't do. The real measure of devotion must be there. Not that anyone may do anything passing in the name of pure devotion, like the Prakrit Sahajas. That can't be allowed. Okay, so this verse is not a free pass for anybody. No, this refers to people who are actually Ananya Bhaktas. All relatives' conceptions of ownership are false. But actually, what we see in Vishwanath, it is also, this verse does also refer to sadhaks. It's not only completely pure devotees. It does refer to sadhaks, but that's a very it's a very deep, nuanced topic. And anyways, that's we can discuss that afterwards also. All relative conceptions of ownership are false. The fact is that one who has attained Krishna exclusively has no taste for any other thing. So really, he is not a durachari. He is not capable of acting in an abominable way. Internally, he is always connected with Krishna. In external life, he is indifferent. So what he is doing is not done by him. One who acts on that plane of reality may destroy thousands of universes, but he does not do anything. Hatvapi sa ima lokan na hanti na nibadyate. Could you think of something more, like, from an external perspective, like from what could be more horrible than destroying thousands of universes? How many unlimited living entities? But actually, even though he might do that, he does not do anything. He is acting on the transcendental plane, the nirguna plane. He is not to be seen in terms of what is good or bad in the calculation of this world. He is absent here. What is in connection with Krishna is all good. It is nirgun. It is transcendental, without material qualities. This is reminding me of a very kind of shocking quote from my Param Gurudev. Actually, no, it's from Śrīla Bhaktivinoda Ṭhākura Prabhupada, but maybe we can look at it afterwards. In this world, truth is a relative thing. This is true. This is not true. This is mine. This is yours. What value do these things have? If a devotee steals a flower for Krishna, you may say, "Oh, why are you stealing my flower?" But what is the guarantee that the flower belongs to you? These are different stages of bogus conceptions of reality. A man who has possession of some land declares himself to be the owner. Then a big landowner comes and says, "You are not the owner. I have the real possession of this land. I have allowed you only to use it." But then beyond the landowner, a king may come and say, "Oh no, this is my land. Your ownership is only relative. I am the ruler of this land. It belongs to me." In this way, one relative conception of truth fights with another. And morality stands only on this conception. This is mine. This is yours. All these conceptions of ownership are false. All these transactions of morality are false because they are not in connection with the supreme truth. So the devotee's apparent misbehavior is quite contrary in reality. Dvaite bhadra bhadra gyan sab mano dharma e bhalo e manda e sab brahma. That's from Chaitanya Charitamrita Antya-lila 4:176. In the material world, conceptions of good or bad, or right and wrong, are all mental concoctions. Therefore, saying this is good and this is bad is all a mistake. So in the deepest plane of reality, the deepest wave of Krishna consciousness is moving, and there so many jiva souls are dancing. And that dance is the absolute dance, wherein everything surrenders to Krishna in the mood of Vrindavan. Sarva dharman parityaja mam ekam. Everything belongs to Krishna, and for his satisfaction, anything and everything can be done. This is the only principle followed by the exclusive devotees without caring for the many relative demands and strictures of this false plane. That is nirgun, transcendental. In that plane, the calculation of false ownership can't be applied. All claims of ownership have no value. All claims of ownership have no value in Krishna consciousness. Okay. It is the background of the action that is to be considered, not the action alone. There's also, Haribol Manjali Didi. There's another point that may also be considered in this verse. Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita that it is not the action, but the background of the action that is to be considered. Not the action itself, but the background of the action. That is to be examined, not the action alone. The motive underlying the action, not the karma, but the purpose. That is the culprit, right? Krishna is Bhav Grahi Janardhan. Doesn't really matter what service we do, how grand our offering is, or how many devotees we make, how many books we distribute, how many this we do and that we do. No, with the underlying motive. If we're trying to do these things for pratishtha, or we're doing it for, then actually what we did was useless, even if it had a great effect, even if it. There's also an awesome quote by my Parama Gurudev on this topic. Anyways, afterwards, I'll go to this article. So the internal meaning of an act, its purpose should be considered, not the external action. The higher principle is served not by following ordinary law, but by following some higher law. In that case, the ordinary law is surpassed. One might think a devotee is a culprit from the consideration of ordinary law, but from the consideration of a higher law, Krishna has said that if you can appreciate their law breaking, you will be uplifted. That's another way to translate this verse. If you can appreciate their law breaking, you will be uplifted. Agyayaivam gunandoshan mayadishtan apisvakan dharmam santyajaya sarvan mam bhajet sachasattama. That's from Śrīmad Bhagavatam 11:11:32, famous verse. Krishna says, the rules of the scriptures come from my direction, my order. But if anyone breaks those rules to satisfy me, he should be considered a better devotee. What does this verse say? Agayavam gunandoshan. First, first after considering, this is past tense, right? Agayavam, having understood the guna, the qualities, the good things, and doshas, the faults. After having done that, and then giving them up, and then dharma samtyajaya sarvan, mam bhajet sattama. So after understanding what's right and what's wrong, but in the scriptures, and then breaking those rules, giving them up to serve me, that person is considered a better devotee. Sometimes it may be necessary to show even greater loyalty to the king by crossing over the laws of the king. So here, God is above law. When we consider the nature of divinity, we must conclude that Krishna is above law. Law is for us, but law may not be applied in his case. He is absolute. When one has actually come in connection with the absolute, he cannot but ignore the laws meant for ordinary people. Yes. This is the nature of Krishna's entire Vraja Leela. In Vrindavan, all considerations of individual and local interest are sacrificed. In Vrindavan, there is the highest self-sacrifice to the degree that everyone's own particular interest or consideration is sacrificed into the fire. Only when you come to that stage of self-sacrifice can you take birth in Vrindavan, not before. This is the conclusion of Bhagavad Gita. Wow. Wow, so actually this verse is showing us how we can actually become a Vrajvasi. We have to come to this level of self-sacrifice, that we can throw all the instructions, all the rules of scriptures, throw it into the fire and surrender yourself to Krishna. This is the conclusion of Bhagavad Gita. Sarva dharmam parityaja mamekam sharanam vraja aham tvang sarva papebhyo mokshayishami ma sucha. Krishna says, you must risk all your prospects. You must risk everything with no prospects other than myself. I cannot tolerate the presence of any second entity in your heart. I cannot tolerate that you will come to me with some consideration. My relation with you must be unconditional. I can't tolerate any other interest in the heart of my devotee. Only one interest, and that is me. Sacrifice all your so-called interests, all your prospects, everything. Then you can come to meet me in Vrindavan. Wow. Amazing. Jai Śrīla Rakṣaka Gosvāmī Mahārāja ki jai. Jai Śrīla Sachidananda Bhaktivinoda Ṭhākura ki jai. Jai Sarva Vrajavasi Gana ki jai. All right, I just see that Rukmini Didi. I'm gonna just I'll share this on the screen so that everybody could read it with me. This is how Devamai Mataji, Devamai Didi, how she translated this. 1 second. Just copying it. Oh God. Sorry, my computer's being weird. There. Let's put this up. So that verse from Śrīmad Bhagavatam that we read, Agaya Gunandoshan, that surrendered soul can also be considered a saint who serves me despite knowing the advantages of observance and the dangers of inobservance, and gives up all varieties of religion and rejects Vedic injunctions given by me, considering these things a distraction from meditating upon me and having firm faith that through devotional service, everything will be accomplished. All right, so let me stop sharing my screen. Are there any points anybody would like to discuss? There's one part I'd like to share with everybody, something from my Param Gurudev. But yeah, does anybody have any points that they'd like to bring up? Krishnamai Didi is sharing something from Madhuri Kadambini. Here, let me share this so that everybody can see it. On this topic. Let's take a look. Okay, so this is Madhuri Kadambini. Devotees are saintly, even if devoid of qualities such as mercy. Okay, so this is Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, and here's the Bhavanubad of his word, these words. Someone could say that only a person endowed with all the good qualities described in Śrīmad Bhagavatam, in that verse that we just read, Dev Mai Didi's translation for, that surrendered soul can also be considered a saint who serves me and gives up all varieties of religion or rejects the Vedic conjunctions. So someone could say that a person endowed with all the good qualities described in that verse, such as mercifulness, freedom from malevolence toward, oh no, sorry, maybe that's a different verse. Sorry, but it's just before it.
Yeah, there's 3 verses describing qualities of a devotee, and then that 32, which we just read, comes after that.
Okay. So in that, just before that verse, it explains that such it explains these good qualities of devotees: mercifulness, freedom from malevolence toward all beings and tolerance. That person is a sadhu or a Vaishnava, and that criticism only of such a person constitutes an offense. But this is not the case, since the statement of the Padma Puran indicates by a, oh God, how do you say that? Rukmini Didi, could you help me?
A fortiori?
Yeah, a fortiori. Sorry, say that again?
A fortiori?
Okay, a fortiori. That, by that logic, that the word tat, saint, refers even to devoted worshippers of Bhagavan who are wretched, devoid of all good conduct, duplicitous, fallen, and total cheaters. It refers to them as well. Yeah. Oh, I'm sure this has a very long explanation from my Gurudev, because he has translations of this. Yeah, this is such a difficult topic, very nuanced topic, and it's very commonly misapplied. Also, people use it as, yeah. But one comforting thing is that even though, like, well, actually, maybe it's not comforting, but Brahma, Narad, and Yamaraj, in Yamaraj's assembly, they were having difficulty understanding this point. But
tell that
yeah.
story. Tell that story.
Well, it was at the beginning of the article. That's what we read.
I missed it. Sorry.
Yeah.
Recap.
Okay. Well, the whole point, the way this started was Śrīla Bhaktivinoda Ṭhākura. He had a dream, and he was wandering in the heavenly planets, and then he came across Yamaraj's assembly. There was Brahma and Narad and Yamaraj and a bunch of others. They were all discussing this point of these 2 verses. Why? How is it? In this verse is explaining that that an exclusive devotee, in the next verse, it says that an exclusive devotee will become a dharmatma. But isn't an exclusive devotee already a dharmatma? So how can we understand this? And so then Śrīla Bhaktivinoda Ṭhākura, he explained this point. Actually, this second verse is saying, he who understands this verse, apichat suduracharo, and how the Ananya Bhak devotee is one second. Yeah, one who understands this point, then that person is a dharmatma. So that was the topic of this article. Does anybody, if nobody has a point to mention, then I want to show something from my
There's
Param Gurudev.
what was
Oh, yeah.
the pasted in the chat by
Oh,
the
Krishnamaya
commentary. Yeah, Krishnamaya.
Okay, great. Thank you. Okay, let's see the commentary on this point. That surrendered soul can also be
It
considered.
is just it's the commentary to the Apichet Sudharacharo verse, Prabhu, and the commentary to that verse from Madhurya Kadambini. So I just took an excerpt from that and pasted.
Okay, so it says, when such exclusive devotion awakens within a practitioner, he develops a natural renunciation and distaste for anything unrelated to Krishna. Oops, I'm not sharing my screen. Let me share it so that everybody can see. Okay. If by chance abominable behavior is seen in him because of his strong detrimental impressions from a previous life, even extreme abominations such as violence to others, theft of another's wealth, and illicit relations with someone else's wife, still we should accept him as a sadhu. This is because exclusive devotion is not contaminated by such things. Bhakti quickly awakens a mood of repentance within him, causes him to become virtuous, and grants him eternal peace. Okay, so that's in relation to the first meaning of the verse, right? That Brahma and Nada is explaining. Yeah, and that's a whole topic. That's like a very difficult topic. On that topic, on the first meaning of the verse, what is it? Let me just see in is it Gurudev's Bhagavad Gita? Gurudev gives a whole long commentary on this. In this regard, Śrīla Vishwanath Chakravarti Ṭhākura has commented on the following verses from Śrīmad Bhagavatam 11:20 verses 27 to 28. And this verse, Jata Shada Matkatasu Nirbina Sarva Karmasu Veda Dukatmatam, that verse says, if a person whose faith in hearing narrations of me has been awakened is unable to give up sense enjoyment and the desire for it, even though he knows it gives misery, he should, with a sincere heart, condemn his inability to give it up. All the while, he should continue worshiping me with firm faith, conviction, and love. So we see in that verse there's deep repentance in the devotee, and I think an example of that is just now. Oh, I see. One second, Rukmini Didi. But an example of that is in our Chaitanya Bhagavat reading about Jagai and Madhai. We see how they were murderers. They were as abominable gets. They were as sinful as sinful gets. But then they became exclusive devotees. They became Ananya Bhaktas. But then we see Madhais, we see in the next chapter, our next couple chapters, 2 chapters after that, how repentant Madhai was. And for the rest of his life, he served the sadhus, and he never felt like, oh, now I'm absolved of all my faults because I'm an exclusive devotee. No, he was repentant for the rest of his life, and he served everybody, and he would clean Madhai Ghat and serve everybody and beg forgiveness constantly. So yeah, this verse applies to somebody like that who is feeling deep repentance. Yes.
The one comment on that, Jagai and Madhai, Gurudev would always say when explaining that, he would summarize this section, he would say, Ar nahi baap. They never again committed any bad behavior or offense. And as you said, they were repentant for the rest of their lives. So that's a very important symbol of, I guess this is getting into like forgiveness and other topics, but okay, Hare Krishna.
Yes, good point. I mean, but also this verse is saying that it might also happen, like it might even happen again, but then they condemn themselves, right? And they're like, there's a repentance, right? Also, so when Rukmini Didi's had her hand up for a while, sorry, I didn't.
Well, this was more about the second meaning, so I don't know.
Yes, this is about the
are you
second
still on
meaning.
the first meaning?
Let's talk about the second meaning. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So my question was, I kind of understand what this was being said by Śrīla Bhaktivinoda Ṭhākura about the second meaning, and basically it's about becoming anya nindade shunya hrida, becoming without the propensity to criticize others. The only thing that raises a doubt with me that I hope the assembly can help quell is that this is being told to Arjuna. Arjuna is a kshatriya. So of all people, the person who is supposed to actually care about whether someone is behaving abominably, and it may be their duty to actually punish the person, that is a kshatriya. So then if the kshatriya goes and says, well, everything's fine, then then who then will actually keep order? So then I guess the kshatriya has to actually recognize the ananya bhak, or how is that supposed to work?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what it sounds like. Yeah. Hari Prabhu, yes, you have a point on that?
Yes, on a little just before we were talking about Jagai Madai, and Baba were thinking that it's a little different because they'd done the worst things ever. I think the entire book of Manu was broken and transgressed. But after their conversion, after their surrender, there was no longer any sinful activities. And so I just wonder, I mean, if this verse is a little different in the sense that this is already someone who's Anya Bhak, and then your question was why is in the next verse is he'll become one. But it always refers to, it seems like somebody's already surrendered, already a devotee, and he has committed, or she has committed, or they have committed an abominable action. So I was wondering about that. I mean, we thought there was a difference between Jagai and Madai and somebody who's already on the path and it incurs in sinful activity, abominable one.
Mm-hmm.
It's pretty heavy. The last thing that you read, I mean, it does open what we call a can of worms.
Yes, definitely.
Vrindavan
is a good example
of what?
of someone who's fixed on Krishna consciousness but is behaving badly. Do we have any examples in our? No, I mean, if someone who later on, we say, or maybe when their life is finished, or even before, even though they were unable to control themselves.
Yeah, so it seems like there are two
Yes, it does.
two
Oh. Go ahead. What was that?
What was that, Hari Prabhu?
You had to come a little closer. So, sorry, because there's three of us.
Oh, I think
he was one.
Oh, sorry. Oops. Can you unmute yourself? Sorry, Hari Prabhu.
Okay,
And who was the third person speaking?
Vrindavan is our eldest son. He was a Guru Kuli. I was there actually. I met him before his mom. This Prabhupada. Prabhupada initiated him, gave him the name Vrindavan. And Vrindavan, that was 1976. Wasn't it, Vrin?
77.
Anyhow, today I told him about the verse, and he's here. He's helping us. He's helping me going through all this, whatever. But he was thinking, what is it? A contemporary example nowadays, or from a recent history. And he was wondering about Vamsi Das Babaji, but what are you wondering about him?
No, he's an example.
Okay, so yes, this verse, Apichet Duracharo, it seems like it can refer to two types of people. There are two different explanations. One is a pure devotee, like somebody who, like the gopis, that's the gopis. They like Śrīla Bhaktivinoda Ṭhākura just explaining how the gopis from mundane morality, it seems like they're having illicit relations with Krishna. That goes against all laws, and like that's terrible, from like the mundane perspective, but actually that is the topmost devotion. That is the topmost. And so, yes, this verse can refer to pure devotees like that, things that in their character that might seem externally like it goes against the rules of what is the word? Provincial rules or regulations. So that's one understanding. And I think in that understanding, that verse, Drishtaya Svabhava Janatar Vapushashtra Dosha from Upadeshamrita, how these seeming impurities are actually, everything is transcendental about the pure devotee. But also, this verse can be applied to sadhaks. And in that case, this is where it gets a little bit more difficult. Like who does this verse really apply to? Like which sadhaks? Is it because that's very difficult to understand. I think you have to be fully at the madhyam level to be able to determine who this verse really applies to when it comes to sadhaks. Yeah. But
well,
so
it seems
those are the two things, though. One is the pure devotee and one is the sadhak. And
back to Rukmini Didi's point of Arjun, there is in Gurudev's Gita, I can't remember, is it Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur? He gives this kind of internal thoughts of Arjuna as Krishna is speaking throughout, and internally Arjuna was communicating with Krishna, like, why are you giving me this instruction? I am completely surrendered to you. Like, why are you giving me these like very basic instructions? There's a beautiful explanation there by I think it's Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, right? And he gives the inner dialogue that's happening and how Krishna responds and how it's for the benefit of all of us that he's playing this role, but actually he's eager to hear higher kata.
No, that's that. It reminds me on the question, Kshatriya, he has to act according to this code to act, and punishment is one of the things. But these were highly trained. That's what Prabhupada favored. He talked about monarchy and the Vedic monarchy, and the best rule because why? The Kshatriyas, the rulers, were trained since childhood. So there's one part where Arjuna says, how does he eat? How does he talk or walk? The sadhu. So there are specific instructions that a Kshatriya was like, oh yeah, rule number 84 was broken, so let's kill this one, that one, that. I'm sure that they had to exert discrimination. But everything is out, like a trump card is Krishna, isn't it? Like Śrīdhara Mahārāja explains that. He's absolute, so there's no law applied to him. So his devotee is connected. So then we have to tolerate. Well, Gurudev sometimes will say, well, if you see that devotee, ever serious, well, just walk the other way, but don't criticize. Don't bring that to your head. It's not your position. So yeah, if somebody is guru, then yeah, he can criticize, he can change someone. But
could I just very quickly share something? I think this is also a really nice point on this topic. And I see Kishori Mahaprabhu is here. Haribol Kishori Mahaprabhu. Just 1 second, I'm gonna just my Param Gurudev, Śrīla Bhaktivinoda Ṭhākura, he said, and this is an article that he wrote in Kriti Ratna. He said, once Śrīla Prabhupada, whose disappearance day it is today, was in Bahramganj, a town in the Faridpur district of Bangladesh, delivering a lecture to an assembly of thousands of people. He said, I can support the destruction of millions of conditioned souls in order to protect a single cowrie belonging to Bhagavan. A cowrie is just like a little useless shell, like that was used for currency before, but like very insignificant amount of money. So he said, I can support the destruction of millions of conditioned souls in order to protect a single cowrie belonging to Bhagavan. This was 32 years ago when I heard this. When I heard this, tremendous agitation took over my heart. What had I just heard in an open assembly from the mouth of this great personality? He had been a vegetarian all his life and had firmly vowed to establish all living entities in the transcendental laws of nonviolence. This struck me as extremely revolting. But in truth, it was a profound statement that captured the essence of the Vedas, Vedanta, and Upanishads. Books dealing with mathematics state that +1 is greater than minus any large amount or infinity. That is, millions and millions of negative integers are still less than a single positive one. Similarly, this illusory world is constructed of transience and deficiency. Therefore, it is always a negative quantity. On the other hand, the transcendental realm beyond this earth is whole. In that place, a single grain of sand is whole and complete. No illusory deficiency can enter that realm. It follows then that a single cowrie belonging to Hari, Guru, and Vaishnavas is a whole and complete object, and infinitely greater than billions and billions of imperfect entities in this destitute material realm. Indeed, this teaching has been verily exhibited in the supermundane life of one from the transcendental world. There's no shortage of correlations of this truth in this world either. A king or leader of a nation does not hesitate to sacrifice the lives of hundreds of thousands of soldiers to fulfill his own aims. Commanders and soldiers sacrifice their very lives to fulfill their leader's wishes. And then he goes on, just see that what the life, okay, I'll just read this one paragraph and then I'll stop. Just see what the life of a soldier entails. For a meager monthly stipends that facilitates a bit of fleeting mundane pleasure for his spouse, children, parents, siblings, and friends, he is ready and willing to relinquish his own life. In a moment, he can abandon the love and attachment of his mother, father, and relatives, and is determined to give his life. To what extent do we do that for Sri Hari, Guru, and Vaishnavas? The love of sadhus, Guru, and Vaishnavas affords us, the love of sadhus, Guru, and Vaishnavas affords us the wealth of true happiness for all time. Yet we are not prepared to accept even a drop of difficulty for their sake, not to speak of giving up our life for them. Is this the sign of a servant of Hari, Guru, and Vaishnavas? How magnanimous, how tranquil, how great are the hearts of those who do not hesitate even slightly to relinquish their life for the service of Vaishnavas. At the moment of truth, we can assess how much love a sevak has for Hari, Guru, and Vaishnavas. Yeah. Manjari, Manjari, you raised your hand.
I was just appreciating how these shlokas, these words are being spoken to the sincere, those who are, to give confidence and to embolden the sincere jivas towards Bhagavan. And it's so wonderful that, that's the target audience, so to speak. In other words, there will always be cheaters who may try to manipulate the words of the Lord or use it to dress themselves in some kind of saintly, giving some excuses for bad behavior, this and that. But here, Arjuna and Krishna, they're not concerned with those persons. They're just speaking this, even though it may be misconstrued, they are speaking for the sake of the sincere, for those who need courage and to feel that complete shelter, and that their fallen condition, mistakes, sinful activities, need not hold them back in their progress towards Ananya Bhakti, and to not get hung up on that, and to appreciate the absolutely profound transcendental nature of Bhakti and Bhagavan and Vaishnav. So I just love how it's completely focused on that positive point, and without regard for the cheaters who may seek to manipulate, because those people will always be there anyway. But here, this is for the sake of the sincere.
Yes. Very good point. Yes.
And in the hearts of the sincere, I mean, individually, in the privacy, in the inner chambers of one's own conscience and heart, you take these words to heart, and they have potency and power, and the sincere know who they are. The sincere are taking it to heart.
Yeah, and no sincere person will ever think we were just, Śrīla Gosvāmī Mahārāja was saying that, right? No sincere person will ever think that this verse applies to them. Well, I am an Ananya Bhak. If you think that, then you are totally, then this verse doesn't apply to you because you're not an exclusive devotee. An exclusive devotee would never think that this verse applies to them. And yeah. What was another? Sorry, there was another point on that topic I wanted to mention, but I forgot. My brain's a little bit cloudy right now. But I guess, yeah. Rukmini Didi, do you have any more thoughts on this? Did that go kind of a bit off
wasn't
topic from what
sure
you were
that
saying? Because you were talking more about
anyone,
Arjuna, like
addressed
Arjuna,
this-
he's a kshatriya.
This
right?
point about, yes, that the kshatriya actually needs to punish people, so they can't be completely, lacking in fault finding. But Nrihari Prabhu sort of mentioned that they're trained that way. But that's part of the kshatriya dharma. But in terms of, it's kind of striking that it's then Śrīla Bhaktivinoda Ṭhākura says says Arjuna declare it boldly. So it's Arjuna specifically that he's asking to say this. So anyway, it's quite,
and that makes it all the more intense, right? Like Krishna said, take the risk. Like Arjuna, who's supposed to be the one who is establishing the rule and everything like that, right? And making sure everybody's following everything. He's the one. So it's like it's making the point as strongly as possible, right?
Absolutely, yes.
And at the same time, this whole Bhagavad Gita, he's telling Arjuna to go, fight this battle in which there's devotees on the other side. So, yes,
Right.
you can try to kill them. Just don't, just declare that they'll never perish. Anyway, it's a little mind-boggling.
So just to recap, I think what you're saying, Rukmini Didi, just to recap, is that Arjuna himself is the example here of taking action as the punisher or the chastiser on behalf of the Lord, and that because it's in connection with Krishna, that there's nothing immoral about it, that it's transcendental and there's no sinful reaction. So he's being asked to perform that role. Is that a fair estimation of what you're getting at?
Yes. So if it's to apply to Arjuna himself, then it does make sense. But but I'm just thinking about Arjuna as the person who is fighting against devotees who have taken the side of Duryodhana, right? So they're fighting on behalf of Duryodhana. That is their durachar.
That reminds me, that is the third level. So Madhukar, you said the verse applying to pure devotees, the verse applying to sadhaks, and then there is this other level that Bhaktivinoda Ṭhākura touches on, which is how Arjuna specifically is taking all of these instructions, right? That's another layer of reading of the text.
Mm-hmm. Kishore Mohan Prabhu just came. Do you have anything, like any points you want to mention on this topic? Kishore Mohan Prabhu?
Dandavat Pranam, all Vaishnavas and Madhukar Prabhu, including you. I came in a little bit late. I came in as soon as you started reading that really, awe-inspiring quote. I don't even know who it was from, but
it was Param Gurudev.
Okay, because it sounds like Śrīla Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Prabhupada's, if I could deliver even one soul from this world, that is worth more than building unlimited free hospitals to temporarily create some pleasure within the mind of a conditioned soul. It's one of those extreme kind of things, like our Param Gurudev sent his preachers to Dhaka or Bangladesh right after the cyclone or the hurricanes or tsunami came in and killed hundreds of thousands of people. And they went there to beg for rice from those people for the parikrama. And from a material perspective, those who were present, whoever it was, that governor was saying, you should be donating to us. Why are you collecting? And he said, if they give anything for Krishna, that is infinitely more than us just giving a little something for their temporary material convenience. They will be eternally benefited. And so in this case, that's a pretty intense quote to stumble upon, but I often consider these points, especially in the context of the Supreme Lord and his pastimes. Sometimes we, for example, will look at Hiranyakashipu and Hiranyaksha and the holy hell that they wreaked on the entire universe, like a fever of meningitis on the head of the universe. How they were destroying temples, they were destroying gardens, killing cows, killing Brahmins. He tried to kill Prahlad thousands of times. And the devotees and the demigods were all, in a very difficult situation. Even Narada Muni, Angira, and others had to offer prayers to Hiranyakashipu. The demigods were his personal slaves. But if you go right back to the source of it, it's simply because Sriman Narayan, twirling his lotus flower, desired to fight. And so everything else that followed is simply a result of his desire. And when you start to look at things in a more holistic perspective like that, you start to understand that we as individual souls, our only function is to somehow fit into fulfilling the desire of the Lord. We don't have any other function. And until we can recognize that, we are still practicing the mood of independence, which is what is keeping us bound in samsara in the first place. So when I see those powerful quotes like that, it just helps to reaffirm that I am an infinitesimal particle, and my only function is to somehow or other be engaged in the service of Krishna, and everything else from the higher perspective is literally inconsequential. It doesn't actually matter. And it's not for me to implement, but if the Lord chooses to implement it, there's nothing we can do anyway. It's shocking. It is literally shocking. I mean, to just turn it on and enter at that point where he's saying that one little, what was that word?
Cowrie.
Cowrie. One little cowrie in the service of the Lord is more important.
I said I can support the
millions
destruction. I can support the destruction.
More valuable than the destruction of millions of material bodies, so to speak. I mean, he used the word jivas, but we know that the jiva can never be destroyed. So
yes.
Immediately, that's another thing to take into consideration, is that we are so attached to our bodies, but we have to look at the perspective of Krishna. I mean, he told Arjuna directly that you're not your body, that the souls are eternal, but the bodies are coming and going. And if we pull back and look even at the perspective of Vishnu to Brahma or Krishna to Brahma, Bhagavatam says that Brahmas are being born and dying like bubbles in the Atlantic Ocean. What to speak of us? Our Brahma is the smallest, and one of his seconds is 100,000 of our human years. So it was Śrīla Bhakti Rakṣaka Śrīdhara Mahārāja. He spoke about the realization of our utter insignificance in relation to even the material cosmos, but to speak of the whole transcendental cosmos. I believe it was Manjari speaking about this Ananya Bhak conception. And yes, one devotee, one person who is liberated has more value to Krishna, is more attractive to Krishna than unlimited universes full of independent-minded, egotistical jivas. It's just the way it is. I mean, he's controlled by that one, whereas everyone else is not able to control him. So it doesn't mean that that's up to us to try to implement. Sometimes devotees might get the mood that, oh yeah, so then it doesn't matter. But if ordered by the Lord himself, that, like Arjuna was, that you must perform your duty and destroy all of these persons. And that point that one devotee made, it was quite interesting, that on the other side, it wasn't only those who were against Krishna. Krishna had Arjuna was able to get Krishna on his side, but Krishna then, the Duryodhana got all of Krishna's armies, and Krishna's armies, they were his personal servants. They love him with every bit of their heart. And yet, as Kshatriyas, they had to do their duty and fight against the side of Krishna and Krishna's devotees. And so there is a lot of implication in there. It's not only Arjuna's grandfather and his cousins and his brothers and those who tried to kill them or hated them or anything. It was also thousands, millions of devotees of Krishna who were doing their duty on the order of Krishna. So it reminds me, I'm going to end here, of what Śrīla Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Prabhupada, he told about Nishta, and that's applied toward Guru or Krishna, that if I have to become proud or a beast or even go to hell to carry out the order of my Guru or God, then let me sign a contract for that. Because I know that by a single particle of dust from the feet of my Gurudev, millions of this universe can be delivered. And so they're willing to serve Krishna in that capacity, to give up their own lives for his pleasure. And Arjuna has to also kill them for Krishna's pleasure, well, to remove the souls from those bodies. So yeah, from a materialistic perspective, it is the most extreme, fanatical, possibly dangerous idea. But ultimately, in ultimate reality, it is the essence of all Shastra, all scripture, and the teachings of all of our pure Vaishnavas. Okay.
only a dangerous idea if it's not Bhagavan Sri Krishna or the Mahabhagavat that one is fanatically following.
Yeah.
Right. Chetananas. There is one particular living entity among all of them that protects us and guides us. He's the one.
Yes.
So that's why I call him the trump card. You know, what's impossible is possible. What's possible is impossible. And we delved into the realm of morality. We have plenty of substance here to talk for a while, but yeah, what is moral or not? You know, like here, it's saying, yeah, I'm ready to kill millions, you know, in order to protect this little cowrie on the ground that belongs to Krishna.
Rukmini Deidi's had her hand raised for a long time, so I just what?
Oh, thanks. So yeah, so I then came to feel a little more resolved about this this instruction to Arjuna, that it is consonant with what he's telling Arjuna in the rest of the Gita, which is that you must do this duty, and that this is, you're not actually the doer, even though I'm asking you to do it, you're not the doer, and that even though you are killing them, they're not destroyed, that, you know, they're also exclusively, there's remaining, you know, as exclusive devotees, and neham pikramanashasti, like not even a little bit of their bhakti is or, you know, their real life, their spiritual life is destroyed. And also to put into perspective that quote, so there's actually 100 trillion other souls in the body of each one of us, and every time you if you pull up like a potato or something, then there's also like trillions of souls in it. Well, I don't know if it's trillions. I mean, the count hasn't been made.
Innumerable.
And a lot of, yes, there are millions of souls every time you pull up some sabji for Shadam. So I mean, that's, and it may literally be sold for cowries. So it sounds very shocking, but it's actually not that unusual. So
yes. Manjari has her hand raised. Yes, Manjari.
Haribol, I just was remembering as Rukmini Didi was speaking, one conversation I had with Śrīla Gurudev, Bhaktivedanta Gosvāmī Mahārāja, that I asked him after one of his classes in Mathura that if Jai and Vijay came, you know, and that was part of the pastimes of the Lord. I think Kishori Mohan Prabhu touched on that. So I said, what about the jivas whom they affected that are not pure devotees in the pastime, like the people they murdered and harmed, and the people who suffered kind of peripherally by them enacting this pastime? Was that those jivas' karma that they were getting a reaction, or was it, or what is it? What is the suffering of those conditioned souls who are kind of collateral damage of these pastimes? And Gurudev paused, and he just, you know, became very grave, and he carefully said, "It is all the sweet pastimes of Krishna." And I just was taking it in for a couple minutes, and he also was just silent and looking at me for like a good minute. We were just sitting there, like pretty heavy.
Is that Manjari, singer painter Manjari, your cousin Madhukar?
Yes. Yes.
Oh, hey, I woke up with a dream of Gurudev, and you had just arrived from somewhere, and Gurudev saw you and was really happy to see you. That's Manjari. And he was like, "Oh, how are you?" And he was talking to you and asking you questions. His eyes lit up. He was really happy. And then he asked me to sing a bhajan, which was, oh gosh, Hari He Gaura Rupe Kirtana Jadi. That's what he told me. I've never heard of it before.
I just arrived in Vrindavan. Haribol.
Haribol. But anyway, he was like very clear. He asked me to sing a bhajan. I was searching for it. I couldn't find it anywhere. And I just said to you, Hari Bol, and I was just asking you how you were. And then Gurudev looked at me and he said, "Don't be distracted."
I want to hear this bhajan. Well,
anyway,
whenever I make it over to Gopinath Bhavan, I'd love to hear that kirtan.
He was happy to see you. So I just wanted to share that with you very clearly. Yeah, I just wanted to share this one point really, because you said it's only applicable if Bhagavan or the Mahabhagavat gives that instruction. Unfortunately, these days, there are thousands of people who claim to be Bhagavan and people believe them, and also millions who claim to be Mahabhagavats and people believe them. So there's a great danger in this idea being misimplemented if a false Vasudeva, Pondraka, starts to give these kinds of instructions. It can create chaos. And hopefully, if one is sincere, everyone will be able to understand who is who.
Yes, that is the essential point. It's very, yeah, very important, because this verse could very easily be misapplied. The all-important point with this. Yeah. It's now 8:39, and so I think this is a good time to end. This is such a wonderful discussion. I'm so grateful to everybody. Such yeah, wonderful points. Yeah, I look forward to next time. Also, if anybody has any more topics, like any more points on this topic, if anybody wants to discuss it further, we have a WhatsApp group for Raise of the Harmonist discussion group, and so you can share any relevant points, quotes from our acharyas.
It's open.
Yeah, and so you can find the link to the WhatsApp group on raiseoftheharmonist.com. You go to how to join this program, and then you'll find the WhatsApp group. There's two groups, one for where I send out the link for the program, and one for the discussion. And yeah, we can continue the discussion there. Thank you so much, everybody, for joining. Yes.
Just one thing quickly. There's more comments in the chat section. Do you have those saved so you can kind of go over them in the WhatsApp?
Yes. Oh, wow. I see all these comments. Yes. Yeah,
they
are.
If you can share those maybe in the WhatsApp, and it can continue.
Oh, sorry. I missed a lot of these comments. I see Gerald wrote a bunch of comments. Oh, I'm so sorry. Yeah, I wasn't even looking at the chat. And also on, yeah, so they're all saved. Every conversation is saved. So Great. Yeah, maybe anybody can copy the comments from that, like Manjari said, and put them in the WhatsApp group also, so we can discuss them there. All right. So I'm going to. Oh, Kishore Mahaprabhu, you're about to say something?
Oh no, I was just reading Gerald. I can't remember his other name. His comment from the Sanskrit of Jiva Goswami from the Tattva Sandarbhas on the definition of Ananyabhak. He's saying that Ananyabhak doesn't mean like a matured one-pointed devotee. It's not referring to a matured one-pointed devotee. It just means a devotee who just accepts that Krishna's the one supreme Lord, and not necessarily like a pure devotee. That's what I've understood from this comment there. Oh yeah, this verse has got a lot. I mean, we can actually literally discuss and debate over this verse probably for millions of years. I mean, even the demigods and Yamaraj and all of them were debating it. They couldn't come to an understanding between that verse and the next, and Bhaktivinoda Ṭhākura had to go clear it up. So I'm sure we could continue discussing this, and there's so many refined points, and it would be really points of different levels of independence versus the full conception. Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur was very clear. And yeah, it's still a very confusing verse for me. Very.
Yeah.
But
that,
you know,
what I really liked about this reading today is that we got clear on that there's two explanations of this verse. And so there's how this verse applies to the pure devotee and how this verse applies to the sadhak. And in our reading today, we were focused on how this verse applies to the pure devotee. But yeah, that's a whole other topic about how this verse applies to the sadhak. And that's that one, like Kishore Mahaprabhu said, is, yeah, lots of debates over this verse. But
just remember, we went to Gurukul.
Yes. Oh my God. Has this verse been misapplied probably more than any other verse ever? Like,
are you sure it's misapplied? That's the thing. I'm not even sure if it is misapplied. I don't know. So
I think it often is. Like it's used like for people who aren't repentant and who commit these things, who do these things over and over again and are not repentant. And then people use this verse for them. Oh, but you can't say anything because apichat suduracharo, like. So anyways, but that's a huge topic. And
doesn't that come in the next verse?
Yeah, well, that person becomes a dharmatma. They don't become a dharmatma if they.
No, they still are dharmatma because they believe in Krishna exclusively, even though they might be nonsense.
We read I mean, maybe you can watch the video. We read that it includes repentance. Repentance is one of the signs.
Yes.
Sudevi just added a really amazing comment because Śrīla Bhaktivinoda Ṭhākura Mahārāja gave a class about this in Keshivji Gaudiya Math some years back. And a lot of times we discuss Bhagavad Gita based on just on the words of Krishna and Bhagavad Gita. But Śrīla Ṭhākura Mahārāja established that Krishna came again in the form of a devotee to show us and give us the proper understanding. And that's in the form of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And how he has explained Bhagavad Gita and how he has dealt with these things, we as Gaudiya Vaishnavas must understand Krishna through his medium. So Śrīla Ṭhākura Mahārāja was explaining that Krishna on the battlefield is speaking to Arjuna from a particular perspective. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, as a Gaudiya sannyasi, is speaking to Chota Haridas from a different perspective. So he actually made the reference that on the battlefield, Krishna is as a king or a grihasta speaking to Arjuna, but the rules and the duties of sannyasis, or those in a position of that kind of leadership where they must be as an example to the rest of society, is very different. And so he just said that we must remember Chota Haridas in this context and not take it out of context, or don't separate that from the context of this verse. Regarding this exact verse, apichet suduracharo bhajate mamananyabhak, and the next one. So it really perspectivized things. And it was one of the greatest reconciliations for us as Gurukulis, born and raised in ISKCON, and seeing everything that we saw and hearing these verses utilized as an excuse to see what Śrīla Ṭhākura Mahārāja, how he had contextualized Chota Haridas and Mahaprabhu in the concept of apichet suduracharo bhajate mam ananya bhakt. So I can share that, or you can find it. It's pretty easy. Śrīdhara Maharaj, he speaks about it. It's probably on bbml.org or something. BBLM.
Well, if you do have it handy, send it to me. And if you're not already in the group, then I can share it in the group. That would be helpful.
Yeah, I'll send it to you, and then you can also implement that within your discussion, and hopefully I'll be there. All right.
And Kishore said, Gaura Govinda Goswami Maharaj said that Krishna spoke theoretically, but Mahaprabhu showed practically.
Whoa, very good. Okay. Well, that brings us into a very different territory, doesn't it? But yeah,
Yes.
it's nice to understand Krishna through the medium of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu.
Yes. Yes.
How about the pure devotee going down the line? We have an example of that in ISKCON.
Yes.
You know, the example of Vishnu Jan, and my godbrother was present at the time when, you know, the sannyasi approached Śrīla Prabhupada, my godbrother, and said if we should act like that in the story of Chota Haridas. And Prabhupada said, yes, that's the conduct of a sannyasi. But then that's all he heard, and he turned from the walk. He stayed back, already resolute to commit suicide. So Prabhupada, when he heard about this, he said, oh, but I'm not Lord Chaitanya, and you're not Chota Haridas. So it's always, we go back to that, the mercy, grace of our Guru Maharaj. Otherwise, how can we understand it? And I love this that what you brought, Kishore Mohan, Sudevi, about this article, because yes, how to understand Bhagavad Gita, Lord Chaitanya had to come again in a way to exemplify it, and Gita, Śrīmad Bhagavatam. But then even down the line from those devotees who are devotees of the great associates of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, they can discern all this and clarify it for us.
We can't understand Mahaprabhu without Sri Gurudev.
Yes.
And our Guru Varga. Thank you for adding that.
No, thank you for bringing it up, Sudevi Jay. There's so many points in this thing. So yeah, like you said, we can imagine if demigods are, you know, bewildered by it. So, you know, all we gotta do is pray for the mercy of our teachers, our masters.
What do you think about examples, like Vrindavan was saying, with an example of someone who's fixed, but they still behave in a, you know, like Vamsidas, Babaji would cook fish and offer it to Krishna, his deities, and eat it, is what Vrin was saying. Gorni Thai. So
yeah, Gorni
Thai. I actually kind of have to go now. I'm really sorry.
But you explained already there was a section for the higher devotees and for another one. All right.
This is
also, it's not certain that he did that. It's people inferred that. So anyway, but yeah.
Yes, you know, because there were bones outside his place and like that. But he did offer, and he was seen, he did offer things that
it was like, yes. Yeah, it was Dandavat Pranams, yes. But it was I don't, it was like things like tea, I think, or something like that, right? But it wasn't the fish spoon.
Just remind me, if we go to the pastimes of the Lord recently, it's about Lord Nityananda Prabhu. And the Brahmin comes who had gone to school, I believe he had gone to school with Lord Chaitanya. He had total faith in Lord Chaitanya, but he was totally confused about Advaita, about Nityananda Prabhu, the way he dressed. He said he chews pan all the time with camphor, bedonat. He does not behave like like a sannyas. So
Krishna and the gopis drink Varuni juice.
Yes. So
we cannot behave like them.
Right, exactly. So remember the story of Lord Chaitanya, how he teaches this Brahmin, and through the story of the sons of Lord Brahma laughing at him because he's committing an abominable act. Right? Consider it. But even that offense cost him horrible births. I mean, the horrible deaths in those such births. But it's a long topic. Sorry, sorry. Don't mean to detain you. I just
No worries. No, this topic is one that can go on for hours and hours and hours. There's so much to discuss. It's like one of the most nuanced topics, and so, but
and it's
so
wonderful
for everybody's
association to do it.
It's very nice.
Yeah, no, I'm thankful for yours and what you bring to these rooms. This room, and like that, and the great association that I'm, to have devotees, all of you. My pranams.
Dandavat pranams. Haribol. Okay, we'll end with a quick kirtan. Oh, and I got that wrong. It wasn't tea. It was tobacco. Is what Kishore Krishna mentioned.
Oh, Madhukar,
Yeah.
I found the quote, the place.
Maybe share it in the WhatsApp group instead.
Please. Yes, please. Or you could send it. You can send it to me, Kishore Mahaprabhu, and then I'll share it in the WhatsApp group.
Right here. I'll just share it right now, and then to you also.
Okay, perfect.
Oops. Hold on. I'm slow with this stuff. I don't know it very well. Chat.
It's okay. I'm gonna end with a short kirtan, and when I'm doing that, you can share the.
Okay.
You can share it in. Okay, thank you.
Share.
You could also put it in the chat here, and then send it to me on WhatsApp. That's great. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Nitai Gaur, Hari Bol, Nitai Gaur, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Nitai Gaur, Hari Bol. Jai Shri Nitai Gaur, Premanande, Hari Hari Bol. I'm just going to do a very abbreviated Jai Dwani because it's late. I'll just Jai Shri Sachinandan Gaur Hari Ki Jai, Shri Radha Vinod Vihari Ju Ki Jai, Shri Govinda Gopinath Maran Mohan Ju Ki Jai, Jai Srila Gurudev Ki Jai, Jai Srila Param Gurudev Ki Jai, Jai Śrīla Bhaktivinoda Ṭhākura Prabhupada ki Jai, Jai Śrīla Bhakti Rakṣaka Śrīdhara Gosvāmī Mahārāja ki Jai, Jai Śrīla Bhakti Vegan Keshav Gosvāmī Mahārāja Param Gurudev ki Jai. All the associates of Śrīla Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami Prabhupada ki Jai, Śrīla Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami Prabhupada ki Jai, Śrīla Gorkishore Das Babaji Maharaj ki Jai, Śrīla Bhaktivinoda Ṭhākura ki Jai, Śrīla Jagannath Das Babaji Maharaj ki Jai, Śrī Rupanu Gauriya Guru Varga ki Jai, Swaparshad Shri Gaur Nityananda Prabhu ki Jai, Shri Radha Krishna Gopa Gopigan ki Jai, Shri Giriraj Maharaj ki Jai, Shri Tulsi Maharani Vrinda Devi ki Jai, Shri Harinam Sankirtan ki Jai, Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda ki Jai, Samagata Gaur Bhakta Vrinda ki Jai, Shri Nitai Gaur Premanande, Hari Hari Bol. Hare Vansha Kalpatarubhyashta Kripa Sindhubhya Vacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Dandavat pranams, everybody. So many devotees today. So grateful for this wonderful Iṣṭa-goṣṭhī, and I hope, we can continue this discussion further. And there's going to be a bit of a pause for this Raise of the Harmonist program because Navadip Parikrama is coming up. And so I will announce when our next session will be, but I think it will be after Gaur Purnima. I have to check the schedule again. And if anybody wants to know the schedule, join our WhatsApp group. And I made a calendar, also a Google Calendar. You can find the link to the calendar on raiseoftheharmonist.com, and it'll be in your Google Calendar, so you can see when all the next sessions will be and who will be reading from and all the details like that. All right, Dandavat Pranams. Hare Krishna, everybody. See you all next time. Hari bol. And tomorrow is, we'll do a special reading tomorrow for, tomorrow is the disappearance day of Jagannath Das Babaji Maharaj, the disappearance day of Sri Rasikananda Prabhu, and also the disappearance day of Śrīla Bhakti-Daita Madhava Gosvāmī Mahārāja. So we'll have a special program in honor of them tomorrow. And then the day after tomorrow, we will continue on with our reading of Sri Chaitanya Bhagavat Antyakanda. We'll start the second chapter. Oh, and I see tons of comments on YouTube and Facebook. Thank you, everybody. Sorry, I can't go through all these comments. It's already very late, but I'm very grateful for everybody's contributions and this discussion. Feeling myself so lucky to have such wonderful devotees like you that I can have some connection with you. And Hare Krishna. Dandavat pranams. I just lost the Zoom link. Where did it go?
Sorry, one point of, sorry, I'm interrupt again, but one point here is actually Vrindavan read this about Bansi Das Babaji Maharaj the other day. And Brain, can you quote it? Well, we do.
No,
anyhow, that he did it offer, it came from Śrīdhara Maharaj, that they did offer fish.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah. So yeah, I have my doubts too when she said that. I said, but Vrindavan had read this from Śrīdhara Maharaj's article.
Hari Prabhu, if you could share that article, because it's always nice to hear all the context and all the points and everything.
I'm terrible in technology or whatever, but anyhow, Bren wants, if he wants to do it.
Yeah, please share it. Thank you.
It's upset.
Yeah,
you're
please.
not okay. All right.
Everybody.
But everything's okay.
Yeah, please.
So
please
yeah,
share
I'll try. I'll see if he can share that with you.
Great, thank you. Appreciate it. Hari Dandavat pranams, everybody. Hare Krishna.